When I was a child, lying in a meadow, I saw a small frog right in front of me. We both stared at each other through the blades of grass. In that moment, I became completely absorbed by one simple question. What does his tiny fingers feel like? So because I knew the tongue can magnify objects, I came up with this wonderful idea and put it in my mouth. I could feel his tiny hands gripping the sides of my tongue as if he was afraid I might swallow him. I felt his little fingers tapping and sensing like a panicking piano player, and then the panic hit me too because my tongue and the frog felt like they had fused into one slimy superorganism. I felt his lungs, tongues, while they were breathing. Suddenly my mother came around the corner, froze, and gave me that face, the one reserved for moments like this. I looked back at her, sheepish, slowly opened my mouth, and the tongue rider frog jumped out. It was one of those moments when I felt an intense connection with nature, a weird kind of understanding. And of course, there was my mother probably wondering what she had done wrong, and the poor frog probably wondering the same. Even though my mother did her very best to support my strange scientific and artistic interests, I grew up under rather tough conditions. Why do I tell you this? Because I'm grateful for all that questions that really scared me back then about death, life, meaning, and society. They brought me to one central question that combined all that. What is nature? I'm an artist, and for over 15 years I have been developing an image-making technique called Naturantypie. It's a very sensitive coating on paper, and everything that touches the surface leaves a trace. It's so fine that it can reveal the footprints of ants, the wing beat of a moth circling around a light bulb, trails of snails, the moment when rain lands on it, or all the life around a dead animal. I built different machines, carried out hundreds, sometimes thousands of tests and experiments to make visible and to highlight the character and beauty of the creatures and phenomena revealed through this technique. It's like a secret handwriting that opens a door to their behavior and to questions about them. Like, can ants really think outside of their bodies? To see what an ant can smell, to witness the scent trails becoming visible, it's almost overwhelming in the most fascinating way. These are the lines they leave behind. Chemical path full of information. And which kind of communication and connection emerges through this? Like here where two ants under an upside-down bucket respond to each other's scent trails even in the absence of the other. These are thousands of tiny footprints from ants. Out of a shapeless fog, a trace begins to crystallize. Like an ant trail appearing out of nothingness, like a lightning that connects the nest with the food source. The ants use a very similar process on a basic level to what happens in our brain. Through repetition of signals, they build structures that are, on one hand, highly intelligent, on the other show how deeply rooted this pattern can become. They even begin to hallucinate these trails when all traces and food sources from previous experiments are gone. They can reconstruct collective pattern, rebuilding their own perspective. And do we, similar to them, also create collective pathways through parks or through what we call culture? For the past 2 years, the technique has become so refined that even the traces of mites have appeared. The first time I saw a mite trace, I thought it was the imprint of a fine hair, but then this hair began to grow, and I realized that the technique now can give us a connection to creatures we usually see only under a microscope. So much invisible life suddenly appeared. Okay, nobody really wants to know how many mites are living around them, but we are so used to seeing life everywhere that we forget what an incredible exception it is. Because without nature, without a single cell, a bacterium, or perception, would the universe even exist? For me, nature has become a reality generator, a sense maker that drives me and gives me hope and renews itself every time I ask what it is. I believe we will only start protecting nature once we realize that wonder, that we are a part of it, and understand what a true miracle life really is. Thank you.